train cheerfully tapped out the rhythm of his road song. For window wagons, rural landscapes were replaced by pictures of wildlife. All it filled the soul with a minor mood, even lulled. Yun the woman could not believe that all the worst is left behind. More yesterday she rushed about in complete despair, like a caged tigress. Absolutely by chance she managed to escape from the trap of circumstances. It seemed more fantastic to her than that she managed to get on a fast train with her son. Though the danger had passed, Kyle's feelings were heightened to the limit, so she felt her back. How quietly the door opened behind. The conductor also silently passed into the compartment. "Baby sleeping, I'm afraid to wake him up," the woman nodded to the lower shelf with a smile, where 3-year-old Gerald snored sweetly in his pillow. "Maybe, I will bring you a seagull." The good nature of the mistress of the carriage touched the young mother. She smiled at her too. Happy to drink a tonic drink, and then something. The conductor happily supported the topic. "This with all passengers. Happens, one has only to sit down. Search how he wants to lay down." Even scientists are interested in this phenomenon. But it turned out, everything is explained simply. Rhythmic sounds relieve tension of the nervous system, so people want to sleep. I sometimes fail to cope with slang, especially hard in the morning. "How long have you been working on the railroad?" Conductor not without pride answered, "Yes, for nearly 30 years, almost like riding on the roads." "Mother. You mean the whole family railroad workers?" Father was a locomotive driver, and the husband and eldest son now drive the most modern cars. There they are like an airplane, dozens of different buttons. Necessary now, how to deal with all this. Talkative the conductor suddenly realized, "Oops, sorry, I'm talking, getting cold in despair. So I will bring you, certainly, please, bring something for tea too." "Great. Received fresh pastry yesterday, cupcake, cookies, rolls. Better a couple of cupcakes. My son just loves them." Conductor went to order, and Kyle again fixed her gaze outside the window. But flickering natural beauty no longer inspired the passengers of an express train. Women looked at the sleeping son, carefully straightening the blanket. Tenderness and love filled the heart of a young mother. She whispered softly, "God, thank you. It is hard to imagine what these people could take from me, Noah." Recent events again instilled in the heart kindly anxiety. What if they find me? Who will help me? Then I asked myself a question to him many times even before yesterday's battle, from which she managed to escape as a winner. But if not for the help of her husband's best friend Jerry, unknown, how would the months-long confrontation between the young mother and the relatives of her missing husband end? Love took a deep breath, remembering folk wisdom, if you knew where you would fall, those straws would be laid. Kyle also could not have imagined a year ago that by chance the fence of a happy life will be thrown. Because everything was not, as they write in novels and shows and movies, to her, working-class girls managed to reach a fabulous height without outside help. Girls even in early childhood amazed relatives with mental abilities. For 3 years, Kyle has already read in syllables, and at 4 she freely performed simple arithmetic operations. Neighbors spoke enthusiastically about the abilities of the baby, our beloved real prodigy. Certainly, parents were proud of their little daughter, but didn't want to show it off, to get some privileges for themselves. One day they were invited to take part in a very popular television program, but my father flatly refused. Our girl, not a thing. To show her, the child needs normal conditions for development, and all these shows only spoil the kids. Although Kyle's father worked as an assembler at a large factory, he was good at psychology. Mother girls always listened to his advice concerning the upbringing of an only daughter. Mr. Cool considered that publicity is very harmful to the psyche of young children and in every possible way protected the girl from increased attention. For some time it worked, but when Kyle went to school, father could no longer interfere with the desire of teachers to demonstrate all the abilities of a small intellect. For years of study at school, Kyle took part in various competitions and Olympiads. Repeatedly she defended the honor of her native school at international venues. The achievements of the young erudite are evidenced by numerous diplomas, with which the walls of her room in the parental apartment are still hung. It seems that the future Kyle is destined by fate itself. Really, after a brilliant graduation from school, the girl easily entered a very prestigious university. There her abilities also caused frank amazement among the teaching staff. Kyle was predicted to have a fabulous career at Neva. But in the third year the situation changed dramatically. And the reasons for these global changes was love in youth. Kyle read Gerald love stories. But she never thought that she herself would become a victim of this great feeling. When a girl at a student party accidentally saw Gerald, she thought that the earth was leaving from under her feet. Yen the man also immediately noticed a beautiful brunette with blue eyes. It was love at first sight. Strong feels numb and steamy, and a girl. Some dating was enough for young people to understand how they need each other. But ahead of the lovers was waiting for the crucible. Gerald was soon to go to Europe for an internship. The whole 2 years young people had to spend apart. It's clear that such a prospect did not suit the couple in love. That's why the novel Kyle formalized their relationship on the eve of departure before the groom. The ceremony was attended only by Kyle and Jerry, newlyweds' best friends. Parents, everyone took the news relatively calmly, that their daughter got married. Only Mr. Toole took a promise from the girl that she will definitely continue her studies. At all, another picture unfolded in the house of Gerald's parents. His father was on the list of the richest people. Quite a few merits were also on the account of the mother of the rector of a prestigious university. Mr. Aaron, without choosing expressions, began to describe the choice of son. Gerald, where are your eyes? Whom you choose to be your wife, this simpleton from a worker peasant family, does not suit your status as a successful programmer. About what did you think when I went with this girl to the registry office? How men I understand you, because your chosen one has an attractive appearance, but that's not enough to live together. By Gerald chose words to answer the father to such cruel criticism. Kyle herself defended herself. Certainly, I respect your opinion, because you are my husband's father, but I would like to know what, in your opinion, needed for living together. Until today I thought, what is important, it's mutual love. Dispute. Gerald's mom unexpectedly entered. Mrs. Alvarez. These girls don't put your finger in your mouth, definitely bite it. As you, darling, not at all, I'm not embarrassed. Kindly, clearly pronounced, if fully, then Mrs. Hughes. Mr. Alvarez grimaces in disgust. What primitive! Even names give collective farm smell. Sure, you won't be bored. Upset in the arbitrariness of his air, Heinrich spoke for a long time and at great length about hasty marriages, but the daughter-in-law did not listen to his son, although for decency they pretended that the words of the ancestors fall on fertile ground. At the conclusion of his parting speech, the millionaire said that he is not going to continue to support the naughty offspring with money. But this warning made Gerald laugh. Settlement, maybe, forgot that for 10 years I have not asked you even for pocket expenses. I am a self-sufficient, wealthy person, but I will always help you, if the need arises. Was noticeably that the parents of the young man were confused. They did not know what other levers can be pressed to guide the offspring on the path of truth. Gerald came to their aid again. Ma'am, Pope, I love and respect you very much, but I'm already an adult and I want to manage my own life. Sorry for the tautology, I love you and I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her. Even if you are not satisfied with my choice, I beg you to respect my wife. If it's hard for you, at least pretend. Intractable parents didn't have how to pretend that they adopted a daughter-in-law into the family. But not even an observer could notice that their relationship to the son's wife, to put it mildly, is not good at all. Is it true, Happy? The newlyweds did not think about it. They enthusiastically made their way. Accepting the real state of affairs, the parents of the newly married spouses silently accompanied their children to the departure hall. But I read millionaires did not consider it necessary to contact the relatives of a simple girl. After the children left, they didn't keep in touch either, as it should be according to etiquette. 2. The years have flown by in a blink of an eye. Gerald was an intern, and his young wife studied the history of European capitals. For this time, she managed to visit Rome and Venice, Athens and Paris. Previously, even in the most fantastic dreams, she could not imagine what you could see with your own eyes, a monument of ancient architecture, touching history. Certainly, new life filled all my thoughts. That's why, Kyle Shaw, I didn't want to think about studying at all. After the first academic leave of the girl had to be extended for another year. Gerald was born, and she no longer planned to return to the university auditorium anytime soon. Sometimes in the evening she still lamented about it. Gerald, your dad is 100% right. You are a successful businessman, in-demand programmer, and I'm an understudy. What I will do, if suddenly I will stay alone. You won't be alone, 'cause I'll be around a little. Suddenly you fall in love with another woman. Geraldton playfully throws a pillow at his wife. This is a provocation. I won't answer it. Kyle sent the pillow back and was very happy that a soft object hit the husband's head directly. Hooray! I hit the target. So you must answer my questions. The man looked attentively into the bottomless eyes of the girl. I do not like this conversation, native. Did I at least give you a reason to doubt my decency? I have you and Gerald. More than anything, I appreciate the opportunity to be near you. This confession was so sincere that Kyle cast aside all doubts. She forever remembered this cozy evening because he was the last in their life together. On the next day, Gerald went with friends to the Alps, and Kyle did not see her husband. 3 days later, she was told what's on the route, along which a group of climbers advanced, and an avalanche was observed. None of the missing have been contacted. Remaining alone in a foreign country with a small child in her arms, Kyle did not know what she should do. Suddenly for her, grandson, Heinrich, arrived. A tragedy, as if she had not always touched this Bobman. He took it easy, but confidently told the daughter-in-law, get ready, live in us, and there you will see. But, Mr. Aaron, the search is still ongoing. I want to wait for the result. I believe that Gerald is alive. He just can't disappear like that. For the first time, the husband's father looked at his daughter-in-law with pity. Naive. Do you think I've been sitting all these days and doing nothing? Suddenly there were tears in the eyes of this strong man. He sat down next to the girl, gently hugged her by the shoulders. No chance of finding them alive. If even someone escaped, the frost in the mountains. What should I explain to you? You understand everything. First weeks after the tragedy, Kyle lived in a fog. She does homework automatically, went for walks with my son. But all her thoughts were somewhere out there, in the mountains, where the only man left in the world, whom she loved with all her heart. Once a stranger in an expensive suit appeared in the house. I am a company lawyer, where your missing husband worked. What do you want from me, Mrs. Hughes? Because the missing person is not considered dead, you do not have the right to dispose of your husband's finances and securities. That is, you do not want to report just like that. Term powers of attorney, according to which you used your spouse's account, expired. That's why, unfortunately, all his funds are now blocked. Mrs. Alvarez appeared as always. Most acute moment. How blocked? Why? The lawyer again began to explain the situation, referring to articles of law. Heart pounded, she tried to understand the essence of what was happening, but the mother-in-law added fuel to the fire. That there is, dear, you want to say, that my son's ex-wife, in fact, Bumyun. The woman looked at her mother-in-law in surprise. Mrs. Alvarez, how can you, and why do you wonder? We are not registered, you don't have a livelihood either. But what you, darling, say, if you think that we can support you, then you are deeply mistaken. I'll get a job. Where do you have no education? What kind of future can you provide for our grandson? You want to say, I'm not going to beat around the bush, darling, but I already wrote a corresponding application to the guardianship authorities. My husband, Heinrich, and I intend to arrange custody of Gerald. We can give the boy everything that the beggar mother, Kyle, is not able to provide him. Not they remember how many minutes or hours she was in a daze. From her little son brought her out of this state. He excitedly looked into his mother's eyes and repeated endlessly, "Ma'am, tummy hurts, ma'am, we will go for a walk." Noticing that the mother does not answer his questions, the boy became naughty. "Kate, sing, give me juice." The demanding voice of the baby returned love reality. She began to feverishly think about different options for solving the problem that had arisen. So the girl even considered staying here. She understood that she urgently needs to leave here, but how do you do it without being noticed if the eyes of observers are everywhere? Suddenly, it dawned on her. Rescue thought. Kyle rushed to her room, opened the laptop, and contacted Jerry via Skype. Another Gerald was aware of all events. He also made attempts to find out the fate of the climbers who disappeared in the spring. After listening to the song I Love, Jerry said, "Don't panic and don't make any sudden movements. I will contact you soon. Really, in just a few hours. Or am I back in touch?" He summarized the essence of the plan of salvation. Only do not say anything. I know well Mr. Alvarez and confidence. I'm already in Novosibirsk, but until the morning we will do nothing. Tomorrow in the morning you and Noah will go for a walk exactly. Grab it all documents, nothing else, only documents. Jerry passed out, and Kyle thought about his words for a long time. Closer mother-in-law unexpectedly appeared at night. She tried to take her grandchildren, but the baby began to cry and beat his grandmother with his fists. Mrs. Alvarez remarked with displeasure, "Necessary same, already managed to set the child against his own grandmother. Well, nothing, I will be able to wean him from bad manners." Going out from the room, the woman casually dropped, "Tomorrow, come from the guardianship. You already found a place to live." Kyle did not answer anything. "Or I came up with the whole operation, it was not by chance that he worked in the internal affairs bodies." Kyle only obediently followed all his instructions. In an agreed hour, she took her son for a walk with the child. She darted into the car, and in half an hour they were sitting in the compartment of an express train. Or I took care of secret travelers. On the shelves and the table were adorned with colorful boxes of food and toys. Man handed the girl tickets and an envelope. "Here a little, but enough for the first time. Get there to the place, be sure to inform. Not worry, tomorrow I will send the capital after you. Please don't answer unknown numbers. I at all understand that conspiracy in your situation will not hurt. Yes, and another important point. I certainly understand that one of the kids is hard, but don't tell your parents. And it will be better if they do not yet know about your escape." Gerald architect Nest Gerald women. He thought for a few seconds and then said, "You know, somehow I'm sure that Gerald is alive. Circumstances just don't give him the opportunity to tell us where he is and what's wrong with him." Kyle was touched by care, the attention of a friend of her husband. "Ilyush, thank you, you are a true friend." Train already picking up speed when Jerry jumped out of the car. Kyle did not have to look for a place for a long time, where to stay in the suburbs, wanting a cousin sister Maria. They were close friends during their school years, but then the wedding threw the girls on different paths. Kyle dialed a familiar number and almost immediately heard Kuzi's announcer's voice. "Kyle, are you at Destiny's Inn?" The woman briefly described her findings. Maria gasped loudly and then said resolutely, "Why are you messing with my head? Since taxi and come. I live alone." "Where is your husband?" "In my bun, you know my husband. Last Anatoly's name was. Well, i.e. table. Damn it, dairy," he fled, like the previous me. "Lucky to me, sister. Cold, come soon, I have French wine in store for such an occasion. Let's chat about fate, about life." To her surprise, any issue with her employment was resolved quickly. Sister Maria arranged everything in just one day. She made several calls, and then said, "Let's get ready, let's go." And the bride Maria What a show! Well, as they say now, to the casting. Certainly, work so-so, but good for the first time. Here a small company based nearby, so they urgently need a cleaning lady. I don't mind running errands for a while. Do I have options? University didn't finish, so I will be glad even for the vacancy of a cleaner. Only I should warn you right away, what is there, decent cattle in the bosses? Briefly speaking, no personnel are retained in this company, but don't pay attention, do your job slowly. We'll pick something better for you. Maria, thank you, then you will thank me. Yes, I almost forgot about the most important thing to say. Eat place in kindergarten for Noah. You have a Moscow residence permit. Well, yes, I feel that way from my parents' apartment. Means, everything is perfect for you. There is work and the child will be attached. Kyle got used to the new place quickly. Tired, the secretary quickly determined the front work for her. In any case warned, not in sight of the Lord. You show up in the office under a degree, you will immediately receive a ticket to fly. New. The female worker just smiled. I don't smoke at all and I don't drink either. Also they say, first day, and on the second is an obscene form. But predictions of an experienced secretary did not come true. Love is never late, performing their duties perfectly. In a few days, she put things in order in the office, washed the windows, and rationally arranged furniture. Employees appreciated the work of the new cleaner. Don't believe what our office is like. This girl is a real sorceress, notice the diligence of Kyle and the boss. Once he invited her to his office. First in life to meet such a responsible cleaner. Let me ask, where did you work before? I studied, but after the birth of my son, I had to leave the university. It's a pity, it's a pity. If you had a diploma, could you get another job? I am so far satisfied with this position. Kyle worked for the company for several months. The boss regularly invited her to his office. This despicable man has repeatedly made hints to cute girls that would not mind having an affair with her, but Kyle pretended that understands nothing. But one day she had to turn to the boss with a request on which Gerald's health depended. As it always happens in life, the baby suddenly fell ill. The woman had to take sick leave. Kiss week she treated the child, went with him for various procedures, but the temperature continued to stay at high levels. Preoccupied with the child's distress, the doctor sent the baby for examination. Verdict: doctor's shocked mother. The boy weakened immunity. This fixable matter. I will write you a wonderful drug, make 5 shots, and your boy's health will be like that of a hero. Fine, Dr. Write out. Doctor handed the excited moms the recipe, without warning about the cost of the medicine. When the pharmacist at the pharmacy called this astronomical amount for a simple cleaner, the woman caught her breath. She took the prescription. I'm to blame, noticing, sorry, I don't have that amount with you today. In the evening with Maria, they discussed the current situation. Sister tried to calm her upset mother. Deneria blows and thinks of something. Tomorrow, I have a payday. I will give you half the required amount, asked for the other half, to be paid in advance at work. Is it possible? Why not all they do it? You don't need money for trinkets for your son. Ask the boss, he must go along. But Maria was wrong. I guess that a beloved boss has a human heart beating in his chest. She first asked for an advance payment to the accounting department, but I was immediately sent to the boss. Anticipating unkind, the girl timidly knocked on the door. Supervisor greeted her warmly. What problems? Tell. Kyle briefly described her difficult situation. Would hurt her carefully, and then approached the girl so close that she felt his hot breath on her cheek. If you are an obedient girl, we will definitely agree. Kyle tried to move away from the man, but he drew her to him and dug his greedy lips into her lips. Suddenly for herself, the girl with all her strength pushed the insolent man away and backhanded hit his fat-streaked cheeks. On the place of impact instantly appeared crimson spots. Boss howled and whirled around in place. "Oh, you rubbish! I will teach you how to ask for help." Man rushed to the door, yanking it open. "Went away from here. Although not, stand." All the employees of the office fled to the cries of the chief. Even drivers were not too lazy to go up to the second floor to see how the boss distributes gingerbread. Noticing the audience, the boss is even more pissed off. "You pathetic rogue, I dared to speak out against my boss. I will surely teach you. You still kiss my feet so that I give you an advance, beloved." The place has not moved. The staff looked with interest at the beginning to turn a blue spot on the chef's cheek. All perfectly understood the nature of the origin of this speck. Peace of mind cleaners even more upset the boss. But after all, he would not have started a demonstration scene in vain. Look and shake on the mustache. Companies will fly out everyone who decides that he is allowed. You see, this lady. Simply, the cleaning lady will argue with me. Advance payment comes on, her child is sick. Ask forgiveness. Maybe, then I'll be sorry and give you an advance. Kyle interrupted this bright speech. "Boss, before you demanded for me to kiss your feet, and there, in the office, you pawed me and climbed under the skirt. You know, with these goats, how are you, a self-respecting person won't talk. I don't need your advance." Kyle definitely threw a doormat right on the boss's expensive Italian shoes. The employee's office barely restrained exclamations of admiration. Somebody in the last row said loudly, "Well done, girl." How she did it! Kyle resolutely headed for the exit. She didn't know where to get the missing amount, but she was satisfied with her actions. She hurried home to tell what happened to Maria. But suddenly the phone rang. It was Jerry. "Kyle Shaw, Gerald is alive. I told you that he is alive." Their teams were killed, but the rest managed to escape. Long time Gerald was in a coma, so the local doctors didn't know who he was and where he was from. "Ilyasha, I don't even know what to do. You have no idea how happy I am." "Well, far from complete happiness. Your husband is still in rehabilitation in the best Austrian clinic, but very soon he will return home. You tell me your current address." Gerald called her the same evening. She burst into tears, hearing his voice, and could not start talking for a long time. He waited until Kyle calmed down a bit, and then said, "I'm glad to hear you." Jerry said, "Why, Gerald is not small for such trips." "Gerald, I didn't have a choice." "What does it mean there was no choice? I don't know. Your mom decided to take Noah away from me. All your accounts have been blocked, and she decided to throw me out of the house. Said that our son does not need such a mother." Jerry helped. That day, when they were supposed to come from guardianship, Raymond and I fled. Silence hung on the phone, and then Gerald spoke. "Nothing, I don't understand. How could Mom go for this, native? I will come to you soon. In the meantime, I'll tell my manager to transfer the money to you." "Yes, just in time." Raymond got sick. "Something serious?" Gerald's voice broke. "He misses your loved one so much, my son. Even more. No, let's fix everything." At this moment, Gerald ran into the room. "Son, go tell Dad, how do you love him?" Noah grabbed the phone and began to tell Gerald something. Kyle had almost the strength to take away his phone. 5 minutes later. "Well, received a piece of information," she asked her husband. Gerald responded immediately, "Beloved, you have no idea how much I love you." After the conversation, Gerald even felt better. And in a week, he will be able to go to Kyle. Gerald's head was a complete mess. And if everything had not ended so well with him, what then? Mother and I would take the truth from Kyle Noah, and she herself would be thrown out of her son's life. What you told Gerald, that everything would be. when he was brought to the clinic at home, then the mother entered the room almost immediately. She lamented, cried, but Gerald was silent. Gerald asked the main question, "Mother, where is Kyle?" And Gerald, woman a little effaced, and then she said, "This ungrateful went somewhere and took her grandson with her. What she can give him to her, all conditions for living were created, but she didn't care. Gerald, help. Mother, as always, never guilty of anything. Mother, this is true, that you wanted to take away not Noah, this is true, that then wanted to kick her out." Woman blushed. "Means, already talked about me. Mother, answer me, we didn't know that you were alive. What she could give him, incompetent beggar. But why is there less? If would not have found me, then my money would go to her. Why on earth, so that she mediocrely squandered them. Noah was left without a penny. That is, you think, that you did the right thing." Mr. Alvarez pursed her lips. Gerald was silent for a while, and then said, "Can I ask you, of course, Jeffrey, don't come to me anymore." And he turned to the wall. Mr. Alvarez stared at him for a moment, then grabbed her bag and ran out of the room. She almost knocked over the doctor, who was heading towards Gerald. He stared at the lady in surprise, who didn't even think to change, shook his head and pushed the door. "Gerald, I have good news for you. All analyses are like an astronaut. I can check you out tomorrow, than expected, for 2 days." Gerald looked at his watch. "Dr. Today you can, that no one would know." Doctor looked at him confused. "Well, maybe, yes. Gerald has already called somewhere, booked a ticket, asked to urgently deliver clothes and gifts for the son of the train." Kyle squatted in the sandbox near her cousin's house and helped Gerald build a road. They laughed merrily when another sandhill built collapsed under the wheels of Gerald's car. Love didn't even notice that someone was watching them. Novel, who approached them, almost cried, looking at this picture. "Sonny, one more ride, and we'll go home." "Late? Not anymore." "Yes, Gerald, you will misbehave. I'll tell my dad everything, and he will soon." "Soon, son, very soon." Kyle hugged her son even faster. "What do you think?" She in amazement turned to the voice, saw her husband and rushed to him with a cry. Next for a second, both were already hanging on it. Gerald hugged Kyle, hugged his son, and tears flowed from his eyes. "How did I miss you?" When Kyle and Gerald entered the office, where the girl worked as a cleaner for several months, the staff watched the guests with interest. Secretary not recognized as a beautifully dressed young lady by a former cleaning lady. "What question are you on?" Gerald winked at the program. "Personally. The boss is waiting for us." Not pending approval from the secretary, Gerald opened the door of authority. Small a little man jumped in a chair in surprise. "Why no warning? You do not know that you need to make an appointment with respected people, they just break in." Gerald confidently walked straight to the table. "Important persona, I'm used to it without warning. 10 more from this day, I run this company." Something told him that this man will not joke. How to take it literally? "I bought this company, and I don't need you. But I am a kind person and I can leave you here, if you." The novel took a long time to pause, and then looked directly into the eyes of this insignificant person. "I agree, what is required of me is a little. Kiss my wife's legs." The man even choked on such a proposal. He had to look at Kyle. And only now the humiliated boss, recognizing the chic lady of his former cleaning lady. Kyle felt very sorry for this little man, but understood that there is nothing to pity him for. "Me satisfy, if you apologize." Employees again watched an interesting scene when an exploding official apologizes to an offended woman. He stuttered, blushed and sweated. Novel, sitting in his chair, waited for the end of the speech and continued. "For that, you humiliated my wife, you apologized. Now on the agenda then, what did you do to her?" "Brother, yes, I almost forgot, you still didn't give her money for medicine for her son. although she did not ask you to give them and asked under her own salary. Head, former boss, completely snowing. You know, I changed my mind. I will give this company to my wife, and we will transfer you to the cleaners after directing. Maybe she can make a man out of you. Employees' firms smiled, gave each other the thumbs up for him. Everyone has already suffered. Well, and now justice has prevailed.